working with the DNA API. To get data to and from API, you're going to create client records. Then you're going to ask your client to take a questionnaire. Right now, you are building a custom app that has each of the questions and that forces your client to choose those questions, choose between those questions of most like me and least like me. And then you're going to send those answers to us as a post. In the future, we're looking to build a widget app that would allow you to use a client-ready discovery that you could embed into your application. So again, you're going to have the client take the discovery. So this is what that looks like. When you have the client take the discovery, you're going to get your token, and then you're going to post these answers to us. So we're assuming that in your app, you've already built the interface, the user experience that allows someone to choose most like me and least like me. You can see an example of how we do that at DNA Behavior through a trial. But then what you're going to do is send us something that looks like this, where you're sending us an indicator of who this person is and their first name and last name and their username. And then you're sending us for question 1, what did they score least like them and what did they score most like them? For question 2, what was least and what was most? Now in this example, they always chose the first one is least like me and the second one is most like me. In your real data, you'll probably see something like least 2, most 3, least 3, most 1, least 2, most 3. So there will be a variety of combinations, but you will send us the response for 46 questions. And it will look like this. Again, this isn't meant for people to consume. This is how this interface is working between your application that is sending us this data and our application, which is using these numbers, these answers, to provide you now with some insights that your clients can use. So as an example, in the DNA reports for building the financial behavior report, assuming that we've already gotten the token and we've already submitted our assessment results, now I can do these get calls. So once I have a client record and I know who that client is, I can start getting insights from DNA behavior. In this example, for this one-page report, we're pulling 4 different get calls. The get unique style and description, which we've listed here as an engager and a description of what an engager is, the get behavioral biases, where we show you your top 2 behavioral biases, the get performance guide. Now in the get performance guide call, I'm going to get strengths and struggles and environment keys. We chose only to show environment keys here and not even all of them. We've prioritized which environment keys to show here on this report. And then with the get 5 scores, we're showing those 5 financial DNA scores and a description of them. Now you'll notice that I don't have an arrow pointing to this picture or the text over here or this graphic over here. And in fact, some of the descriptor text here, I didn't get from the API. All of those other areas are either standard text or graphs that are stored in our application. So that's part of our specific IP. It's really important to remember that you're not trying to rebuild our reports. You are building something unique on your own. And so this is really just to show you an example of how we're using the API to populate this particular one-page report. Let's look at that a little closer. So what you see on the report is laid out pretty nicely for a user to be able to read with some descriptions and some words around it, some additional text, another graphic, another picture, some graphics around these numbers. But what we're actually getting back is this string. So where I have those 5 scores, all I'm getting back is a value and a description, a value and a description, a value and a description. What we did is we chose to put those values into this graphic, put the number right in the middle of the graphic and create a graphic around it. That's not included in the API. You're not getting the user experience. You're just getting the data that we use to create that user experience. So again, you see here, you're going to get strengths back, and then you'll get struggles, and then you'll get environment keys. In the get performance guide, we didn't use the strengths and struggles when we pulled back. We pulled some of those environment keys to watch out for. Again, You don't have to use all of the information that comes back in a call, and you don't have to use the calls that we're using. You certainly want to build something that is unique to you. So for example, you might build something that's really unique that looks like this, where you have a menu, you have some announcements about your upcoming appointments or an event that's happening in your world. You might have a performance overview and maybe a budgeting area and an asset allocation area with your logo. And so in that case, this would all be sourced from your data, from your application, from other places that you're calling data. So that could be other APIs, or it could be direct calls to your database from your application. And then you're also peppering in some additional information that is sourced by DNA. So here, a strategist and pioneering and skeptical, you could get from those Get assessment results. Here you could get behavioral biases to watch for from the Get behavioral biases. This could be an example of the description that you're getting around strategists. And then this is a different way to show those 5 dial scores that we showed earlier. You might show them like this. Instead of a round graph, you might show them more like this, like building up tubes. So that's what we want to see, is something unique about how you're using the insights from DNA uniquely and blending them with what's in your own application. The idea is not to replicate what we have, but to build on what we are able to provide you and give you something unique. For example, we had a client ARQ that got a risk score and risk group, and then this is how they present it. So this doesn't look like any of the DNA reports. It's really unique to ARQ, where they're showing what your grouping should be, and then a next where they start walking you through what that means to them and what you need to do next in their environment. Next, we're going to talk about where to find documentation for the API.